My name is Lily, and I still remember that evening like it just happened. We were sitting around the dinner table. Me, my dad, and my older sister, Megan. The house smelled of roast chicken, and the TV was playing softly in the background. It was one of those quiet family dinners where no one says much, but everyone's just there. I was playing with my fork, not really hungry, when my dad suddenly looked up from his plate. His face was serious in a way I hadn't seen in a long time. "Lily," he said slowly, "what did you do with the $200,000? For a second, I thought I heard him wrong. The words didn't make sense. I froze, my fork slipping out of my hand and clinking against the plate. "What?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. Megan stopped chewing. I turned to look at her, and that's when I saw it. The color drained from her face, like someone had flipped a switch. Her eyes darted toward Dad, then quickly back to her plate. "What do you mean?" I asked again, this time louder. My heart was racing, confusion flooding every corner of my mind. "What $200,000? Dad frowned, looking genuinely puzzled. "The money I transferred to you both after selling the house," he said. "Your share. $200,000. I sent it months ago." My stomach turned cold. I shook my head. "Dad, I never got any money." There was a long, heavy silence at the table. The clock ticked loudly on the wall. Megan suddenly got up, muttering something about needing water, and hurried to the kitchen. Her hands were shaking. I looked back at Dad, my voice trembling. "I swear, I didn't get it. I never even knew you sent anything." Dad leaned back in his chair, confusion turning into concern. "But the transfer receipt said your account. It had your name on it." Something inside me clicked, a tiny sharp feeling that didn't go away. I turned to watch Megan pour herself a glass of water. Her back was to us, but her shoulders looked tense, frozen. I didn't say anything more. My mind was already racing, trying to piece together what I had just seen. Her reaction, her silence, that pale face. Dinner ended awkwardly after that. Dad went to his study, saying he'd check the bank statements again in the morning. Megan went to her room, closing the door behind her a little too fast. I sat there alone at the table, staring at my untouched plate. The air in the house suddenly felt different. Heavy, uncertain. That night, I couldn't sleep. The same question played in my head over and over. If Dad really sent that money to me, where did it go? And why did Megan look so afraid? That night, I sat on my bed with my laptop open, staring at my bank account screen. The numbers didn't lie. There was no $200,000. Not now, not ever. I went through every statement, every deposit, every old transaction, hoping maybe I missed something. But there was nothing. Dad wouldn't lie to me. He was the kind of man who double-checked everything, especially when it came to money. If he said he transferred it, he did. So where did it go? I clicked through my emails next, searching for any bank notifications, but the inbox was clean. The only new message was from Megan. A photo of her new car. A shiny black SUV with a big red bow on top. The caption said, "Finally got my dream ride." I stared at the picture for a long time. My stomach twisted. Just last month, Megan had been complaining about money, saying she could barely afford rent. Now she had a car worth more than what she made in a year? Something didn't make sense. The next morning, I woke up early, still uneasy. When I looked out the window, I saw that same car parked in our driveway, the one from her picture. It gleamed in the sunlight, spotless and expensive looking. Megan came out of the house a few minutes later, dressed perfectly as always. She saw me standing at the door and waved, pretending everything was normal. I forced a smile back, though my heart wasn't in it. "Nice car," I said when she came closer. She smiled too wide, her eyes flicking away for a second. "Yeah, I've been saving up for a long time," she said quickly. "Finally treated myself." "Good for you," I said, even though something about her answer didn't sound right. After she drove off, I walked to Dad's study. He was already there, going through some papers with his reading glasses on. "Dad," I said quietly, "I checked my account. There's no transfer from you. Nothing close to that amount." He looked up surprised. "That's impossible. I did both transfers at the same time." "Maybe the bank made a mistake?" I suggested, though I didn't really believe it. He frowned and pulled open his laptop. "I'll call the bank today. Don't worry, we'll figure it out." But deep down, I wasn't worried about the bank. I was worried about Megan. The timing. The new car. The nervous smile. The pale face last night. It was all too connected. Later that day, I found her car keys on the counter and without really thinking, I picked them up. My hands trembled slightly. I wasn't sure what I was looking for, but something inside me whispered, "Check." I opened the glove compartment. There, among the papers, I saw a bank envelope with my name printed faintly on it. My full name. And suddenly, everything started to make sense. The next morning, I woke up early with one thought in my mind. I needed to see the proof myself. Dad had mentioned that he kept copies of every important document in an old metal cabinet in his study. He was out for a doctor's appointment, and Megan had gone to work, so the house was quiet. I opened the cabinet carefully. Inside were old papers, property files, tax forms, bank records, and receipts neatly stacked in folders. I pulled out the one labeled, "Transfers, 2023, and sat down on the floor. My hands shook a little as I flipped through the pages. And there it was. A printed bank statement with 2 transactions, both labeled as family transfer. One had Megan's name beside it. The other had mine. But the account number listed under my name wasn't mine. I read it again just to be sure. The digits were off. My heart began to race. I quickly grabbed my phone and looked up Megan's account details from an old shared payment we'd made months ago. The last 4 digits matched. The money Dad meant for me had gone to her account. I sat there in silence, staring at the paper, my chest tightening. I felt this mix of anger and disbelief. It wasn't just about the money. It was the thought that my own sister, the person I grew up with, laughed with, could have done this to me. I turned the page and saw something even worse. A printed confirmation letter from the bank with a signature of receipt. My name was at the bottom, but the handwriting wasn't mine. It was Megan's. She had actually signed my name to confirm that I got the money. For a few seconds, I couldn't breathe. My fingers brushed over the fake signature, and my stomach twisted. The betrayal stung more than anything else ever had. I had always trusted her. Even when we fought, I believed she cared. Now, all those moments, her nervous look at dinner, her new car, her fake smile, made perfect, painful sense. Just then, I heard the sound of a car pulling into the driveway. I quickly placed the papers back in the folder, heart pounding. Megan was home early. I closed the cabinet and ran to my room, pretending nothing had happened. From the window, I saw her walk in, talking on the phone, laughing like everything was normal. It almost made me angry. How calm she looked. I sat on my bed, holding my phone, thinking of what to do next. I could tell Dad right away, but something inside me stopped. No, not yet. If she was bold enough to take what was mine, then she needed to know what it felt like to lose everything she thought she could get away with. That was the moment I decided. I wasn't going to cry anymore. I was going to make this right. I didn't say a word to anyone for days. Megan acted like nothing had happened, and I played along. At breakfast, I smiled when she talked about work. At dinner, I nodded when she mentioned her new promotion. It almost became a game, her pretending to be innocent, and me pretending to believe her. But every night, after everyone went to bed, I worked quietly in Dad's study. I collected copies of everything, the transfer papers, the fake signature, the bank confirmation. Then I started digging deeper. I searched through public records, looked at her company's profile, even checked her LinkedIn. That's when I learned she worked in the finance department at a real estate firm. The same firm that handled large money transfers every week. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Someone who could fake a family transfer might be bold enough to do worse. I didn't want to destroy her life. I just wanted her to see what it felt like to lose something she didn't deserve. So I took my time. I created a folder on my computer and started saving emails and screenshots. Things she'd sent me over the years that hinted at her work habits. Some messages mentioned adjusting accounts and shifting funds for bonuses. At first, I hadn't thought much about them. But now they looked very different. When I had enough, I wrote an anonymous email. It was short, careful, and polite. I didn't accuse anyone directly. I just said there were financial inconsistencies linked to an employee named Megan, and attached the documents that connected her to both the family transfer and her company's accounts. Then I hit send. The next few days felt like a blur. Megan seemed distracted, always checking her phone, making calls in the hallway. One morning, she rushed out of the house early, barely saying goodbye. That night, she didn't come home for dinner. By the end of the week, Dad mentioned that Megan's office had been reviewing their internal accounts. He said it casually, not knowing how close it was to what I'd done. I just nodded, keeping my face neutral. 2 days later, I heard Megan come home late at night. Her voice was quiet, trembling, as she spoke on the phone in the kitchen. "They let me go," she said. "They said they found irregularities. I don't even know what they're talking about." I listened from the hallway, not saying a word. For a moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. But then I remembered how she had signed my name on that paper. How she had taken what wasn't hers without a second thought. I went back to my room, closed the door, and sat in silence. There was no joy in what I'd done, but there was peace. Sometimes, justice doesn't come with loud fights or angry words. Sometimes, it comes quietly. In the same silence someone once used to betray you. A week later, Dad came into my room with a heavy look on his face. He closed the door behind him and sat on the edge of my bed. His hands trembled slightly as he held a small stack of papers, the same ones I had found weeks ago. "Lily," he said quietly, "I just spoke with the bank. I know everything now." I didn't say anything. I could hear the disappointment in his voice, and it wasn't directed at me. He sighed deeply. "Your sister admitted it. She used your name. She said she needed the money for something urgent and planned to return it, but she never did." I looked down at my hands. "So she finally told you," I whispered. He nodded slowly. "She did. She's ashamed. Lily. She says it was a mistake." I took a deep breath. "It wasn't a mistake, Dad. It was a choice." For a long moment, neither of us spoke. The room felt still, heavy with everything that had been left unsaid for too long. I could tell he wanted to make things right, but there were no easy fixes this time. Later that evening, Megan came by. She looked smaller somehow. Tired, nervous, and nothing like the confident sister I'd grown up with. Her eyes were red, and she clutched her phone tightly like she needed something to hold on to. "Lily," she said softly, "can we talk?" I nodded, though my heart didn't know what it wanted to hear. She sat across from me at the kitchen table, the same spot where Dad had asked that one question weeks ago. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. The silence stretched between us, filled with every lie and every broken piece of trust. "I'm sorry," she finally said, her voice shaking. "I didn't mean for it to go this far. I thought I could fix it before anyone found out. She stopped, wiping a tear from her cheek. "I messed up, Lily." I studied her face. She looked sincere, maybe even sorry. But some part of me had stopped waiting for apologies a long time ago. "You always thought I was the quiet one," I said softly. She looked confused. "What do you mean?" I smiled faintly. "You never noticed what silence can do. It's stronger than shouting, stronger than anger. I didn't have to fight you to make things right. I just had to stay calm and let the truth find its way out." She looked down, unable to meet my eyes. Dad walked in a few minutes later, saying nothing, just placing his hand on my shoulder. The silence that filled the room wasn't heavy anymore. It felt peaceful, almost freeing. Megan stood up slowly, whispered another apology, and walked out of the room. I didn't stop her. That night, as I sat by the window watching the lights fade outside, I realized something. Revenge hadn't given me joy, but it had given me closure. Sometimes the quietest person in the room ends up being the one who changes everything.